Hello, this is Cynical Revolt, and thank you for clicking on my YouTube page or this video. This video is entitled Bill Maher and Socialism. In light of the nearness of the Super Bowl, comedian and host of Real Time on HBO, Bill Maher recently wrote an article on the Huffington Post, which is the internet newspaper. And in this article, he talked about how socialism is the reason that the NFL is so popular. This article is hilarious. Encourage you to check it out on your own. You just look it up. Just look it up on Google or go to the Huffington Post website and search it, and I'm sure you'll find it. In this article he wrote, he contrasted how the NFL, the National Football League, for people who are not familiar with football, uses revenue sharing and salary caps to even the playing field. Basically, each team gets a certain amount of money. Each team gets the same amount of money. Versus how baseball, which does not use these tactics, in the Major League Baseball, it seems that the same teams are playing each other in the World Series, the championship, every year, although this year was somewhat of an exception. And this is because only a handful of teams have all the money. For example, the Yankees own most of the money, so they get most of the good players. They get pretty much whoever they want, and so they're better than most of the other teams. The NFL, on the other hand, gives all teams equal opportunity by giving them the same amount of money. This is, of course, a great point, and I think demonstrates the fairness and goodness of socialism over our crony capitalism. To let the cat out of the bag, I support socialism in the simplest sense of spreading the wealth, and that all people are equal and all people should have the opportunity for the same goods and wealth. But Bill Maher, in my opinion, is annoyingly inconsistent, or at least in his actions. He's coming to Dallas to do his comedy tour, which is near where I live. I live in Texas. And I was pumped to go, but found out that he's performing in an At&t sponsored place. Of course, At&t spent lots of time fighting net neutrality and is a large corporation. And of course, corporations are the opposition to socialism. But this perhaps could be defended. Maybe one could say, well, that doesn't mean he supports At&t. He just happens to be going to a stadium that is sponsored by At&t. Perhaps more egregious is that the stadium is charging $45 to sit at the back and $75 for decent seats. I guess if you actually want to see him, you have to pay $75. I wanted to go, but I know I can spend my $45 in a better way, so I'm not going to go. Again, perhaps one could argue that he doesn't set the prices, he just gets a cut from the place. The stadium itself sets its own prices, and he has no control. Well, 2 points. Yes, of course, this argument's somewhat correct. But why doesn't Bill Maher or his people, step in and say that they should lower prices or boycott stadiums named after corporations altogether? Perhaps more annoying, again in my opinion, is Bill Maher's finances himself. While his salary is not public, his salary for his show on HBO, he has an estimated $23 million to his name. So much for socialism. While he is for progressive taxation, it means you tax the rich more than you tax the poor, and you give the poor the money from the rich. That's basically socialism. One wonders why he thinks the government should spread his wealth and not himself. Why didn't he just himself spread his own wealth to causes or people that he sees that need it, instead of asking the government to do it for him? And I like Bill Maher. I think he's a funny and intelligent guy, and he recently on his show he covered a story about this $1,000 bra, or it was a ridiculously expensive bra, and said it is things like these that necessitate the need for talk of redistribution of wealth. Again, great views in comedy, but it seems to be inconsistent with his actions. Perhaps I'm being too hard on Bill Maher. I want to know what y'all think. Please comment on the page, and tell me what you liked about this video, what you didn't like, if you disagree or agree, and like or dislike the video accordingly. And if you find the video worthy, please recommend to your friends for listening. This is Cynical Revolt, and again, thanks for listening.